The Arcam A25 amplifier is part of the new Radia series of stereo products. In good Arcam tradition, it's a Class G amplifier delivering 2x 100 watts in 8 ohms and 2x 165 watts in 4 ohms. It also has a DAC board, integrates with the ST5 streamer and comes with remote control. The new Radia series consists of 3 amplifiers, a CD player and a network player. The A25 has a DAC board but doesn't do streaming. For that it needs the ST5 streamer that interfaces with the amp digitally or analog and can control the amp when streaming over a proprietary connection. This review only concerns the A25 amplifier. Next week the ST5 streamer will be reviewed and I will also look at the integration of both. Let's now first look at where the A25 fits into a stereo system. Being a stereo amplifier, it needs to be connected to a pair of loudspeakers. As a source, you could use a computer, laptop, tablet or smartphone connected over USB. Android devices would then need a so-called OTG cable and most iOS devices a Lightning to USB adapter. You would also need audio player software, preferably of the bit-perfect kind, to play music without losses. If the computer is connected through your network to the internet, you could also play streaming services and internet radio. You could also do that over Bluetooth, but then you lose some quality in exchange for ease of use. Install a DLNA server program like Minim Server on your computer and you can use a tablet or smartphone running a DLNA control amp like Glider to select the music you want to play. The supplied infrared remote control lets you set volume, select the input and set up preferences. If you want the computer out of the room, you can use a network player like the Arcam ST5 I mentioned earlier or any other network player of matching quality. The ST5 comes with an infrared remote control as well, but selecting music is best done using an Android or iOS smartphone or tablet using the Arcam app. You could also connect a USB drive and play music from that. A CD player or other source can be connected over analog RCAs, SPDIF or Toslink. The same goes for a TV, set-top box or game console, of which the stereo analog or digital output can be connected to the amp. The A25 only accepts stereo PCM on the digital inputs. So if you connect the digital audio output of a TV or other video source, set that to stereo rather than Dolby Digital. The A25 has a unique design with yellow accents along the sides and the louvers in the top panel. The rings around the 2 knobs are illuminated and can be dimmed or switched off. The A25 measures 431 by 382 by 83 mm and weighs 9 kilos. On the front we see a 3.5 mm headphone jack next to a rotary encoder that lets you select the input and lets you also rename the inputs. In the middle a display that shows the chosen input and the volume set or the 2 lines menu to set preferences. It is perfectly readable from a distance of 2.5 meters. On the right the rotary encoder that sets the volume by turning, selects mute by pressing it shortly or selects standby by pressing it longer. A small LED indicates the standby status. The remote control lets you navigate and select menus, set volume, set mute, change the display brightness, has transport keys for when it's used with the Radia series players and opens settings menu and audio menu. On the rear left there is the IEC mains inlet with above it the power switch and to the right the voltage selector to switch between 115 and 230 volts AC. This USB connector is for updates only and cannot be used for audio. Next to it the RJ25 connector like used for telephone lines. but here used to make a connection with the SD5 streamer to have them function as if they were one device. An input for an optional infrared eye and a trigger input and output complete the control connections. The digital inputs are found next to it. There is a USB-C jack that connects to a computer using the USB Audio Class 2 standard. There are also two SPDIF coax inputs and an optical Toslink input. Then the analog inputs, 3 times line level and 1 phono input for a turntable with moving magnet cartridge. Above it the earth terminal for the turntable. Remain the outputs, a pair of preamp outputs, the right speaker terminals and the left speaker terminals. A large toroidal transformer is the first thing to notice when opening the A25. Next to it a small E-core transformer, probably used for system control and beneficiary for a very low standby power consumption of half a watt. In my country that boils down to between 2 and 3 euros per year. The conversion from AC to DC, buffering and voltage regulation happens here with 6 MOSFETs against the cooling profile. In this corner both the system control, the USB input circuit and the Bluetooth module are located. Bluetooth can be used to connect a source or connect to Bluetooth headphones, but it's one or the other. To the left a vertical board that does the SPDIF and Toslink inputs. A Burr Brown PCM 9211 is used as receiver chip, the A2D part is not used, with directly next to it the clock crystal. The digital to analog conversion is taken care of by the ES9280 AQ Pro DAC chip with integrated MQA decoding and rendering, with directly next to it its clock crystal. Then the preamplifier with the Burr Brown PCA 2311U analog volume control and 74HC4052D switches for the input selection. The 2 channels of line amplification are situated here, followed up by the driver circuits and the 6 NGL 32810G bipolar power transistors against the cooling profile. The A25 delivers 2 times 100 watts in 8 ohms and 2 times 165 watts in 4 ohms. The amp operates in class G. That means that low level signals are in class A from a low voltage power rail and thus have no crossover distortion, while for higher signal levels a higher voltage rail is blended in. Since the higher voltage is only used when high signal levels are reproduced, the heat dissipation is clearly lower. This in turn makes it possible to output higher power. There is only a small number of manufacturers that use class G, since it's more expensive, more complex to design well and build well. Creek and Parasound spring to mind here, and of course Arcam. After unpacking and installing, it can be handy to walk through the audio menu and settings menu. In the audio menu you can select the audio outputs going to the loudspeakers or Bluetooth headphones. Here you can also pair a new Bluetooth device. Furthermore, the balance can be set here and the reconstruction filter. For the digital inputs the PLL settings can be switched between standard and wide. Use here the standard setting unless you get glitches or mutes. Then the wide setting must be used to catch the lower quality digital signal. In the settings menu you can set what input is used for the SD5 streamer, which is of importance when you want to use them together from one remote control. Furthermore, the brightness of the illuminated rings around the input and volume controls, the brightness of the display, etc. You can set an input as processor pass-through. By connecting the left and right front pre-outputs of a surround processor to that input makes it possible to use your stereo as left and right front channels. It functions then as an external power amplifier, and although the sensitivity can be set, the volume in this setting is done on the surround processor. The name of all the inputs can be changed to your situation, like CD, for the input the CD player is connected to, TV for the input the TV is connected to, and so on. Once this is all set up, daily use is very simple. Using the left rotary encoder or the infrared remote control, you can select the desired input, start the source and set the volume. I started listening in my setup 2, where it replaced the Marantz PMKI Pearl Lite. The speakers were the Acoustic Energy Radiance 1 loudspeakers, connected over Kimber 4PR loudspeaker cable. They are supported by the REL T5 subwoofer that is connected to the loudspeaker terminals on the A25 using the cable that came with the sub. The network player was the Magnum Mano MK3 Farad running Rupee XL connected to the Uptone Audio Ether Regen with Uptone Audio Ultra Caps 1.2 power supply over Cat6 patch cable. From there a Cat6 cable runs to the central switch on the 3rd floor where my Roon Rock server is situated. See my video about my reference setups May 2023 for more information on my entire network. Immediately recognizable is the powerful yet refined sound character. There's a very royal spatial information and high resolution over the entire spectrum. Even without the subwoofer attached, there was an impressive low end for the relatively small acoustic energy loudspeakers, both in power and texture. It's the combination of control and refinement I love in amps and is often not found in Class AB and certainly not in Class D amps in this price category. The next step was to replace the Magnet Streamer by the Eversolo DMP A6 Master Edition with B-Technic LPS A6 linear power supply to test the analog side of the A25. It was connected to the Eversolo using Siltec London RCA cables. These were once the most affordable Siltec cables but are no longer available. Now the digital to analog conversion is done by the Eversolo that, in this configuration, cost almost the same as the A25 amp. This made clear that the analog part of the amp even goes further where resolution, spectral neutrality and microdynamics are concerned. It's quite reminiscent of the SA30 I reviewed about a year ago. In my setup 1B, the A25 was connected to the PMC FAC 12 signature loudspeakers on Stack Audio over 70 isolators and connected over AudioQuest Robin Hood Zero loudspeaker cable. The network player again was the Magnum Mano MK3 Farad running Rupee XL connected to the A25 over Vanderhull MC video link and to the Zixel GS1900-10 HP switch over the Network Acoustics Eno system. Here the connection to the main switch and the 3rd floor is over fiber connection, while the connection to the internet modem is over Cat6 patch cable. Although the PMCs are no heavy load for an amplifier, they do have low efficiency and thus require about 5 dB more power than an average loudspeaker. Furthermore, they go down to 26 Hz and require firm control here. The mid-range is famous for its extremely high resolution, so yet another field the A25 will be challenged. Of course it will not match the air amp normally used here, that cost almost 12 times the price of the A25. Having said that, it controlled the lows more than one would expect. I'm waiting for delivery of the Grim Audio Mute 2 digital player, so I used the Crate €2,000 Eversolo DMP A8 as source to replace the Magnet Streamer. This to test the analog qualities of the A25. The connection between the Eversolo and the amp was over Siltec London RCA cables again. Once again I noticed the DMP A8 sounds better than the DMP A6 ME with linear power supply and, indeed, clearly better than the D to A conversion in the A25. But the analog part of the A25 is more than good enough to amplify that higher quality sound, even on the PMCs. This, like the SA30, is an amp that for me is the best in its price category. What can I say? As an analog amp, it's top notch in its price range, with a good sounding MQA digital to analog converter as bonus. It deserves a good digital source. Next week I will look at the matching ST5 network player that not only has digital outputs but also analog ones. I will test the player standalone but also in combination with this amp, for it allegedly works together nicely. But that's for next week to find out. The A25 amp on review here is a great analog amp for €1800, with a digital to analog converter that equals that of a €800 standalone MQA DAC. And on that bombshell we come to the end of this video. As usual, there will be a new video next Friday at 5 PM Central European Time. If you don't want to miss that, subscribe to my channel or follow me on Facebook, Instagram or LinkedIn so you will be informed when new videos are out. Help me reach even more people by giving this video a thumb up or link to this video in the social media. It is much appreciated. Many thanks to those viewers that support this channel financially. It keeps me independent and lets me improve the channel further. If that makes you feel like supporting my work too, the links are in the comments below this video on YouTube. I'm Hans Beekhuizen, thank you for watching and see you next week. And whatever you do, enjoy the music.